If you're thinking about selling your home and you're told that waiting till the spring market is the best time to sell a home, well, guess what? What you're being told very well may not be right. As a matter of fact, this is probably one of the biggest myths that exist when it comes to selling a home. And in this video, I'm going to give you a few reasons to help you understand why waiting until the spring market very well may not be in your best interest. So I'm sure you understand how supply and demand works, right? The more supply there is, well, the less demand there can be. Simply, there's more product out there to serve the consumers. So when there is less product to serve the consumers, well, then one would think the supply and demand would come into play and that the supply would be worth more because of the pent-up demand. So if we apply this to real estate, and if I were to say to you, if you're thinking about selling your home, you should wait until the spring market. This is the best time for you to do so. Well, that basically means I'm telling you to put your house on the market at the same time that everyone else is. In that situation, we are basically increasing the supply all at once, which in theory creates less activity on your particular property because a buyer now has more options to choose from. So one reason it may make sense not to wait until the spring market is simply because of supply and demand. You may make out better by putting your house on the market during the winter or maybe towards the tail end of the summer, simply because there are less homes available for buyers to choose from. But let's go further. There's more reasons than just that. Now, when it comes to real estate, there are people who want to transact and there are people who need to transact. For the people who need to transact, they're generally more motivated and are willing to pay more or offer more favorable terms simply because this is not something they desire to do. Their life has changed and it's something that they need to do. So if there is someone who's relocating for their job, and let's just say that relocation is during the winter, well, that person who has to move during the winter, if you are waiting till the spring market, your house isn't even an option for them. So the homes that are on the market for them at that time, that buyer is going to be that much more serious about giving terms to that seller that they're going to appreciate, and they're going to have much more motivation to making sure that that property makes it to the finish line, i.e. the settlement table, which is really what all this is about. Keep in mind that not everyone waits to buy real estate. Those are the people who desire to transact, not the people who have to transact. And you very well might be missing that have to transact person by waiting. Another thing to consider is that there is less burden or noise, if you will, in the industry. When there's less listings on the market, that gives the opportunity for more agents to become familiar with your property. If we're out and we're carting buyers around and things are just crazy during the spring market because everyone waits till that point to put their home on the market, well, that means I have less time to do due diligence. I have less time to be behind my computer screen learning about my market and properties that come onto the market, thinking about from, let's say, an infrastructure standpoint, putting your property on the market during the off-peak. I don't even want to use that word because that indicates that the spring market is the peak market, but putting your property on the market during a time where it may be a little bit slower may also result in you getting better service, more attention. And that doesn't only mean from your real estate agent or your realtor, but from the lender who may have additional bandwidth because they're not as busy. Same thing with the title company who may not be as busy because they're not closing other properties in volume and they're not handling refinances and things along those lines. So the bandwidth across the board may be favorable, not only for the seller, but it may also be favorable for the buyer as well. Another thing to take into consideration or to pay attention to, what incentives or what offerings are available for buyers at any given time, okay? I'm gonna use grants as an example. Well, grants are usually introduced in the beginning of the year or somewhere around the tail end of a calendar year. And grants, the way they work is the money is there until the money's used up. So if there's a grant that would give a buyer more buying power, which then if they have more buying power, that translates to them being able to be more aggressive and give you a better offer. Maybe it's a higher offer, maybe it's better terms, whatever it may be. But if you are paying attention to things like that, grants, special loans, even in today's market where interest rates are up and down, if interest rates dip come Q3, Q4, well, that's definitely the time to put your house on the market, because a lot of buyers right now, not only are they worried about where am I going to go, they're worried about interest rates. So taking into consideration some of the moving mechanics that come along with a transaction, whether it be governmental assistance, grants, or anything along those lines, are things to pay attention to. And well, they're not always available during the spring market. So I think the biggest reasons that a realtor would inform a potential client on why they may want to wait for the spring market, well, here in the northeastern section of the country, well, when it's cold out, it's not really ideal to move, especially if it's snow or sleet or ice or any of those things. So I will take into consideration that aspect. I will also take into consideration the aspect of schooling. As a parent myself, I would not want to uproot my children in the middle of the school year to relocate to a different school. And then the other aspect is, well, you have better curb appeal once the flower beds are weeded and there's flowers in there and the grass is cut. So I will agree with those three valid points. But here's the thing, not everyone who's moving during the winter who has children is moving to a different school district. As a matter of fact, using my own personal example, we've moved during the winter with children, but we stayed in the same school district. As a matter of fact, my kids were able to go to the same elementary school. These are things that we considered up front. So not everyone moving is going to move to a different school district. And the other thing is, I also really enjoy, I'm not gonna say being out in the snow, but there's something about taking a look at a property and there's just a blanket of white snow in the yard and the leaves are off the trees. There's also something to be said about the fall here, when the colors are just amazing and you get all these vibrant oranges and reds and all those things, which could come across very well in some of your marketing, which would debunk the curb appeal aspect. So all three of those factors technically could be debunked. There's always another way to look at it, or another lens to look at those talking points through. So my honest opinion is that there is no best time to sell your home. We're always looking for the best. We want the best deal. We want the best house. We want the best price. We want the best terms. Well, that's all subjective, because you're never going to get the best. So the moral of the story is to formulate a game plan that works for you, not based off of a time in the year, unless that time in the year coincides your overall goal. If you know that you want to move to a different market, a different school district, or you want to move when it's warm and not cold, well then I understand entering the market at a different time. But for those of you thinking about putting your house on the market now, which is right before, actually now I think about it, we are in spring. So maybe if you're thinking about waiting a few months to sell your home, I promise you, you're not doing yourself a disservice. And if you have any questions, as always, you can reach out. Feel free to download one of our guides. The link is in the description. And with all that said, take care.